When I was younger, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. All these years later, I'm still none the wiser. Careers advice is often unhelpful. It's fine if you know what you want to be, let's say a doctor or a teacher, because then your path is set. You know what qualifications you need, what college or university to go to, and so on. For most young people, however, it's a very difficult decision, and the choices are often not clear. This is why I'm setting out to try and help. I'm meeting with people who have different jobs. These are not ordinary professions, but slightly more unusual jobs than you might find on a typical careers advisors list. It could be that one of these sparks an interest for you. But more than that, what I hope to capture is the advice that these people have to offer. They will share their experiences, their life stories, their mistakes, and also their secrets for success. We very rarely have all the answers in life, but what we do gain as we grow older is wisdom and experience. And I'd like to gather as much of this as possible and share it with you so that you can benefit from better advice than I had. So I'm on my way to Bromsgrove today to meet somebody who runs what is called the spray shop, and it kind of is. They apparently spray anything, you name it, they will spray it, and they have some really interesting things going on. They've been on TV as well, so I thought I'd go there and speak to them about what they do, see some of their work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about.
Hello.
Morning. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Paul Harris is the owner of the spray shop in Bromsgrove, Worcestershire. Since opening in 2005, it has had thousands of items through its doors, all of which have been transformed and given new life through the magic of spray paint. The basic approach here is very similar to that you might find in a car body repair shop, insomuch as whatever the project is, the goods are stripped back, prepped for application, in some cases repaired, and then coated using spray paint technology. The difference here, however, is that any product, quite literally any product, can be brought back to life, not just cars. Indeed, the company's strapline, "We Spray Anything," has led to a quite incredible range of items being brought in, and has even led to TV appearances.
We worked on building sites. I started our on-site coatings company, and I went out in a van and spray painted buildings, really. So painting the outside of buildings, doing repairs and stuff like that. And we had a load of guys and working from home, and it was pretty tricky. So we wanted to find a unit that we could work from. This came available, and we started it from here. This wasn't just bespoke for We Spray Anything. It was just a unit we needed for, doing servicing with vans, and the guys could pick their paint up and stuff like that. But of course, over the years, your business changes. And now we've got this place here, which we've got 3 spray booths. As you can see, there's one over in the corner. So when we do the dusting and sanding, that sucks all the dust up. There's another spray booth down here. So we do some more spraying in there, and there's one to the right of us, just on the side. Yeah, so this is like 2,500 square feet. So main workshop there, and obviously we're stood now in the boardroom and the showroom.
We're sort of right in the middle looking down at the moment, so
that's right,
we've got the same amount behind. Yeah.
So we've done everything here. So small things to hundreds of mannequins to furniture, whatever you want, and it comes in here and we'll work on it and goes out the door. So it's quite interesting what you can get, really, and you just never know. As I say, when people turn up with a van, they go, hey, how do you do this? And we just do it in here and in the booth. So, it's good, really, from that point of view. But you need this type of equipment to make it work. You can't just do it without any of this. It just won't happen. The feel of it is not as important because you're taking things that are old and tired, and then you put the new finish on them for a new lease of life for somebody. So, you know, it's a way of recycling anything that you've got in your home, really, whether it be metal, whether it be wood, glass, objet d'art, mannequin, anything really. And the idea is that we can recycle virtually any item that you can see in here, and the things that we've never even heard of before that people bring in, and they can bring the strangest things.
Ding.
Well, you think about mannequins, quite expensive, most of them, because they're mass produced in just one colour. So most of them do white. But designers, interior designers, people don't want white. They want, you know, things that reflect for their clothes. We've just done some stuff for Beyonce, so she wanted something.
For Beyonce?
Yeah. So she wanted something with black chrome, so she could put her clothes on it.
Right.
And they did that flannels in London. So all of these people have got different ideas about you. They give us a blank canvas, if you like, and then we create the finish for them.
Despite the emphasis on creativity and expression, there is a technical element to spray painting which could be regarded as chemistry. There is a paint mixing studio at We Spray Anything, which uses advanced computer technology in order to select the correct colour and mixing scheme from 2.5 million colour options, which is the entire spectrum of possible colours that the average human eye can recognise, across a multitude of product types, ranging from the basic water-based through to incredibly hard-wearing solvent-based paint. Paul often attends workshops and exhibitions where the latest paint technology is showcased, ensuring that the spray shop always remains at the cutting edge of the spray painting industry.
So, let's talk paint really. Do you think all the things that we do here, we went to America to see how this thing works? This paint, I call it the most expensive paint in the world. Whether the manufacturers are like that, I don't really know, but it is. But we wanted something that no other paint could do. You put a wire on this.
So this, in your experience, is the most expensive paint that you've worked with?
Yeah, so that paint for this is £5 a square inch, plus £100 an hour labour to put it on. And then there's enhancements on that, like there's clear coats and all the rest of it. But there's 5 layers into this. So with 2 wires onto that, look, 9-volt batteries, and then you go and switch on the other. How about that? I think, really? How does that do that? Look, there's no bulb, and it does that.
So how does this work exactly then?
So it's electroluminescent paint.
So this is electronic paint?
It is, yeah. So as soon as you put the power to it, it vibrates it and lights it. All these different colours.
Let's just capture that in it, yeah.
Very clever. So you can switch it on and off. Just think of motorway signs.
Right.
If that was on a motorway sign, LEDs are quite intense, aren't they? And the closer you get to them, you can see the pixelation on the colours and stuff. But this, it doesn't, because it's a wash. So if that was on a motorway sign, that would last constantly on for 8 years without being switched off. And then it will last another 8 years again, just by tweaking the voltage on it slightly. So it'd stay like that forever, if you wanted to. You'd see slight dimming of it, not a lot. But you think how cool that is, you could put that onto indicators for cars and stuff like that. I think that's a brilliant product. But we can chrome that as well, so we can put a chrome finish over the top of that, so you could have illuminated chrome, which nobody else can do in the world. We can do it, but it works.
Having learned so much about the sheer range of creative possibilities that the spray shop has to offer, and having seen things in action, I was keen to get a better understanding of how Paul came to be running such a unique business. We headed back up to the showroom for a chat, where it quickly became clear that he didn't always have such a clear idea what he wanted to do for a living. Let's just pick an age, 15 or 16, for example.
Yeah.
Do you remember knowing, having any sort of idea what you wanted to be back then? And no, you're shaking your head. Okay.
No, I didn't have an iota. I think getting your education on the sorted, that's the main thing. And the other thing was, back then, what jobs were available. Because remember, technology and all this stuff that we got here wasn't available as a career.
So what would you say was your favourite subject at school? Or did you have one?
Yeah, art. I used to like art.
Right, okay.
Anything creative like that, taking things apart, putting it back together, metal work, woodwork, all those things were good. I was more of a practical person, really, rather than theory. You could do it, but I was more interested in those sort of things, really. And I think that's what drove me to going into this industry. I think if you I don't know how you find out you're really good at stuff like that, but you go into it and think, oh, I can do this.
So when you left school, how old were you when you left school?
I was 16.
So at 16, you knew you enjoyed those sorts of hands-on, creative type of subjects and things like that. What was your first job?
Funny enough, I went to a motor accessory shop, but the motor accessory shop had a car garage attached to it, and they sold cars, and they'd got a body shop, and they do mechanical work. So I really started off that. I was in Lowe's Garage. That was in where was that? Dudley, and that's really started me off doing that, because I'd got a choice then of either working in the car sales, which I didn't really like much, but you know, the practical side appealed to me, so that's what I started off doing, and I enjoyed doing it, and I just pushed forward from that, really. And then I started off my own body shop when I was 21, so I started doing that.
So 5 years after you first started working in that environment, you had your own body repair shop. How did that come about? Was that something that you quickly started working towards?
Yeah,
or was it just an opportunity?
It was an opportunity. I was looking for a place to do some work, and there were 3 other people involved in this. They were doing like mechanical work and other things, and I was doing the body work. So we started off. I started looking at places. Looked at a place in Kidderminster, and that came available. We could rent it. There was 4 of us went in there, and only 1 survived. Hello, it was me. The rest of them packed it all in. But I just carried on doing that. And then I moved from there, and I got another shop, and that got successful. And then after that, obviously, I went into doing the on-site coatings work. So it was always, I think you do get opportunities coming along to suit you, really, from that point of view. It was something I was always interested in, so it worked really well. And I was always into cars and stuff like that. You know, so, you know, taking a car apart and putting it back together and making it look pretty was another extension of what we're doing here today, really. So, because of the type of work that I enjoyed, I didn't feel it, you know, to be a pressure thing, or I ever struggled with it. I just got on and did it and enjoyed doing it. It was easy for me. I think when it's always the way in it. Professionals always make stuff look easy, don't they? You look at it and go, how do they do that? Because they do. But if you enjoy it, it's half the battle.
Given all of this, what I was really interested in was Paul's opinion of which attributes would be needed to succeed in his industry.
You obviously want somebody who's practical and reliable as well, and you're able to teach somebody. The biggest problem that we've had over the years is that because we're a spray painting company, you get professional spray painters coming in who think they're the bee's knees, you see, they're the best things ever. And of course, when we show them, can you paint a mannequin or something really tricky, they get taken down a peg or 2, and they don't really like it. So, but if you've got somebody as a raw recruit who's keen to learn, they're going to be reliable, they're going to turn up, and they're going to go, how can I do that, and what can I do next, and etc. So they're thirsty for knowledge.
So they're curious.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. And that will continue with them then, because obviously, because you're a spray painter, it doesn't mean to say that you can't earn a decent living, because you can. But we're trying to change the fact it's not just paint a car in blue, but you're doing all the kitchens, the furniture, you're being like an interior designer, so colours come into this as well, and numbers, so all of that, because when you mix paint, you have to add up with numbers, and you've got distract and 2 to 1, 3 to 1. So there's a lot going on with paint that people realise, really, to be fair. But this is where you can change people's concept of a car painter from when I started, that's what it was, just painting like a mini pink or green or yellow, or doing a repair on a wing or whatever, to what it is now. It's so far removed that cars now are getting very small now, because they're all plastic, they're electric, so you don't have to work on them, whereas this side of it, it's massive. because the more people now want to get into the DIY and into the interest of how do you do that. And it's surprising really, and this is where you can capture people's imagination so much more with this than you can with anything else. And you say, it is a specialist market, it is. But once I know you can see from the candidates we got, everybody that comes along and has a look, they think, gosh, really, I can do this, can I? And you go, yeah, you can. This is slightly different, isn't it? Because it's down to your creativity as well. And how good you are, whether you're interested in it as well, as that's the thing as well. Because we've brought so many elements together, not only with the painting, but like the recycling, transformations, environmentally friendly products, and all the rest of it. It's a bit more of a science now than it was when I first started. It doesn't bear any resemblance at all. But we've got a great platform for people to come into this and go, this is what you got, this is what you can do. I didn't have that when I was younger, because when you went into a body shop, it was a body shop.
It was clearly the case that there were many challenges to running a business, and Paul spoke at length about the difficulties he'd faced with untrustworthy corporations and people who were simply not up to the job. However, it was clear that these experiences had not diminished his passion for the spray shop and his entrepreneurial spirit.
You have got freedom. You can work whatever you like. If you want to be a workaholic, you can be. Or if you don't want to be a workaholic, you can spend 4 days at home and 2 days at work, or whatever you want to do. So you've got the freedom. You can dictate the prices. It's up to you how much you work for at the end of the day. So if it was just me here and I wanted to paint a kitchen and somebody says I've got £500, you could go and paint it for £500. So you make your own choices. So it's only down to you. You haven't got anybody else to keep happy. It's just you. So if you want to earn £500 a week, that's what you're going to stick for, and you'd be quite happy with £500 a week. If you want to earn £25,000 a week, it's a different ball game. You have to work a little bit harder, but then you've got to be driven to do that. Some people don't want to do that. That's why you get workers and employers. So you get bosses for a reason, But to be a boss, you've got to serve first. So you've got to serve somebody before you're a boss, because you wouldn't know how to serve anybody if you were a boss, would you? So it's one of those things, isn't it? So I tell you, during lockdown we did Lavazza coffee machines, and they rang up out of the blue and said, can you paint coffee machines? And I go, yeah. We've never painted any before. I think we might have done a few. But anyway, I spent a month working with Lavazza coffee machines on the colours, how we're going to do it, etc. etc. We did like 70 or 80 of these, maybe 100. That was worth £100,000 over to do that job. And that was during lockdown. But what a brilliant job. You're working one of the biggest companies in the world for coffee, painting their coffee machines, and they were going to roll them out throughout Europe. Brilliant. What a brilliant job that was. And that went okay. But see, these sort of things, when you do like really big, tricky jobs, remember some of these jobs you've never done before. So it's not, we haven't got a manual to say, this is how you do that, and this is how much it's going to take, and these are the problems you've got to overcome them. So whatever it is, whatever colour, whatever finish, we've got to do it and make sure it's out for that day. So that's where the pressures come in then, because you've got to do it for a time. It's going out on Monday, you've got to do it on Monday. The ones we did for Beyonce, they got to go out on Monday and they got to be finished because she was doing a show, and then it went to America after that. So we did all of that. So we've been really lucky. We've never had any real bad jobs at all. Just you've got to think, you've got to know your craft. That's the thing. You've got to know what you can do, and knowing what you do helps so much, because you know that you can say, I can do this. Look at this table. I won't do that in a couple of days. That's fine. It's when you don't know, like the coffee machines. That's why I worked for a month with Lavazza, because I didn't really know what we were going to do. But that was brilliant, because we did all the work and the research for that over that month, and we did the dog. It was brilliant. It was really good. So you still get your pressures with it, but knowing your craft is important. Knowing about what you can and what you can't do is important. And getting into this all these colours and things, because I'm quite creative and I play drums as well, so it's one of those, I'm a bit crazy really, but I looked at some of these things here and I thought, well, we want to really get into this, do some specialist finishes that a lot of people can't do. And that's the reason for all of this that we've got here. But it makes it really interesting then, because you haven't got just one colour to paint, or like your building, it's only one colour really, it's pretty damp. Whereas this, you've got so many things that you can get involved with and create and make things look entirely different from when they start to when they finish. And people like that. And everybody wants something a little bit different, like the kitchens, like the furniture and all of that. So this is why we've done all of this in here, that people can see and they say, I like that place, and we do it for them.
Paul has created a fantastically unique and creative environment in the spray shop. There's just so many things that paint technology and just a little bit of thought and passion have really helped to bring to life some of the things that you can see around here. It's clear that he had no idea what he wanted to do when he was younger. Paul's career has really been built on maximising opportunity, understanding his own potential, and it's a real lesson that with a bit of creativity and passion, you can form your own niche and become an expert in a field of your own making.